Just going to quickly stop the transcription. Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Laura Allison. I am the project manager that has been working with the state of Delaware in efforts to bring the state into compliance with PCI DSS. We also have Mr. Brent Hobby with us as well today. He is the QSA that has been working with the state of Delaware for several years in their efforts of getting to compliance with the PCI DSS statewide. Today, we are going to be demoing for you how to complete a SAQ P2PE, so point-to-point encryption. When you get into Campus Guard Central and you click on the SAQ that is assigned to you, you're going to land here, which is what's called the merchant dashboard. And so there's some pertinent information here that you could take a look at. On the left-hand side, it says 4.0 demo, right? That is the name of the SAQ, right? For the demo, the different name for your area will be will be there instead. The customer is going to be your state agency. For the demo site, it falls under the Delaware State Treasury test. So that will look a little different. The SAQ type is P2PE, so that will be the same. The year 2024 will be the same. Version 4.0 will be the same for you. We have due dates and expiration dates as well. Those are going to vary as they are completed, so don't worry too much about those dates. In the center of your screen here, there's a pie chart. It's all purple right now, which means that it's not answered. Once you complete or start to work on your SAQ, this is going to change colors. So in the way in which you answer the questions as displayed here in the legend to the right of the pie chart. And then all the way to the right, we have authorized users. And so those are going to be the individuals that are assigned to the SAQ. So it might just be one of you, or it could be several of you, just depending upon the SAQ type or the different individuals that are involved. But everybody who has access on an individual basis to work in this SAQ will be listed here. We have a couple of buttons here at the bottom. The one in which that we want to pay attention to today is Edit SAQ. And so with that, Brent Hobby is going to click Edit SAQ, and then we will let him take it from there. Brent?
All right. Thanks, everyone. For those of you that have met, good to be with you again, at least virtually. This is the P2PE SAQ completion. So as we go through, we've got for those of you done it last year, this will be very similar, although I'll point out that this is now PCI 4.0, so the forms are slightly different. So if you remember them from last year, there are a few changes, but it's substantially similar. But as we go through, we'll let you know how to fill things out. So in the first section, as we go through, you'll notice on the left in the navigation form, we have the parts of the SAQ that we're going to complete. We're in part 1, then we'll go to part 2 and so forth. So here we'll start with the contact information. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's the information about you. We've worked out ahead of time, and Laura will be putting in the chat things that we have will predetermined what the particular things will be put in for the state. So relative to the company name, we're going to be putting State of Delaware in the as the company, and in the doing business as the DBA field, we'll be putting the name of your merchant area. So in this case, but this would be your whatever your department, whatever this merchant is called for you. In the contact information, this is you. This is the person that's completing the SAQ. So obviously these will be different for whoever you are. And if we have if you have a mailing address for your department and such, we would put it in here. for whatever you are. And then if your department has a main website, you can put it in the main website field, although that's not specifically required. On the part 1B for the assessor, if you'll note at the bottom, the part for Campus Guard, which is me, is already filled in. And then we'll just, there's no ISA, that's called an internal security assessor. We'll leave that part blank for purposes of this. So once you've got your contact information in, you can just scroll to the bottom and click Save Next. All right, so in part 2, this is where it's asking us, this is the executive summary section, and this is where it's asking us on part 2A right here, it's asking us what type of payment channel are we filling out for here. So we're going to click card present for those of you that are taking cards in person, and mail order for those of you who are taking payments over the phone. So if you accept payments by phone, click mail order. If you don't, then unclick it. If you have a card reader, which of course this is P2PE, so you click card present. For the question about any payment channels not included, we're going to click no. All right, so now we have to a description of why we take credit cards. In other words, what are people paying us for? And Laura, I don't know if you want to put this in here. I can put in an example, but we've got a couple of predetermined examples.
They're in the chat for you, both versions.
There's one. Okay, good. And then let me get to the chat for the second one. But here's 2 examples of descriptions that you can have. We don't want to put both, just put one description of why you take credit cards. You'll note this says activities and fees. This says merchandise sales. If it's for reservations or if it's for registration purposes or things like that, just replace the merchandise or activities with registration or tickets or whatever it is that you're selling. Okay, in part 2C, this is a description of the environment. So think of it as the sister question to 2B, and up at 2B, we're asking why do we take credit cards? And 2C, we're asking how. And so it's a very short question. There's a couple of options, but I'll put you 2 here for you. Here's the first one.
Also in the chat.
In the chat. And then alternatively, if you have a standalone card reader, again, you'll only want to use one of these. And again, if your environment varies, you can change this or contact us and we'll help you craft the appropriate description. On whether or not segmentation is involved, we're going to say no. Now for facility type, typically we're going to say, they're asking for a description of the type of place this is. Typically this would be an office, one location. But if you're in a different type of facility, you can put that in, but usually office will suffice. If you have multiple locations, you can type in the number of locations. Okay. In 2E, we're looking for, this is the information about your P2PE card reader. For those of you who have Clovers, which I believe is most, we're going to fill in, you're going to put this in and again, this will be in the chat as well. But for the solution provider, it's Clover Network. For the name of the solution, it's Clover. For the, and this number you'll have to copy it, but that's their PCI reference number, which you can get off the PCI website, but we've got it here for you. For the list of devices, the state's running 3 different types, so you can put the kind you have. The Flex, the Mini, or the Station. The Flex is the handheld one. The Mini is what it sounds like. It's the small desk-mounted version, and the Station is the big cash register looking one that can run as a point-of-sale system. For the reassessment date, again in the chat. Do that. Okay, so there's, oh, I'm sorry. Just Clover for the, all right. For third-party service providers, so this is it's the same but different. We're going to say, they're asking us, what do we use third parties for? So for P2PE purposes, we have people that store and process information on our behalf, and then in terms of these other things, which is security controls and impact CVE, the answers are no and no. For our service providers, in terms of what we do, we've got for those of you that are running Clover here, it's Fiserv, as the name of the service provider, and processor for the description of services.
Yep, and that's also in the chat for ease of copying and pasting.
Ease of copying and pasting. We like that. Now, 2G is a summary of the assessment. We're going to leave this blank because the portal will fill it in for us later. And then 2H is the eligibility criteria. We can read each of these. Feel free to contact us if you have a question about one of these, but we're going to click each of these boxes. And then click Save Next. Now we're into the actual assessment questionnaire, and we're going to answer these questions each one at a time. Now, we don't store account data, so there's only 2 compliant answers: in place and not applicable. So as we get to these questions, they're asking, is this control in place? And we're either going to say it's in place or we're going to say not applicable. So when we say apprised that bunches with paper records that include data, so there's 2 different ways to think about this. If you're doing phone-based transactions and you write it down on a piece of paper, they're asking you, do we have a process to define this? If you don't, which is the way we started this presentation, the SAQ, this would be not applicable because we don't have any stored data. We don't write it on paper. We don't put it in a spreadsheet or anything like that. So whenever you click non-applicable, it's going to ask you to enter a comment. And by that, I mean, why is it not applicable? And we're going to say no cardholder data is ever stored. If you highlight that and copy it, we're going to use that as the explanation for almost all of our not applicables. So again, storage is kept to a minimum. We don't store any data. And since
it might be good too for you to mention that the boxes are case sensitive and punctuation sensitive. So yeah, so you want to copy and paste for consistency's sake, and this will make a lot. This will be much more clear in the Appendix C when we get there. So I went ahead and I put it in the chat as well. No cardholder data is ever stored, so people can copy and paste it. And again, you'll understand why in the appendices why this is important.
Yeah, so we want to keep it. We want to keep it consistent. So it's going to copy it down later, as Laura said. You'll see it'll be real clear later. This question, sensitive authentication is not stored after authorization. That's true. It's not. So we'll just say that one's in place. All right. Implement strong access control measures. Now, so this is talking about physical access to cardholder data. Now, again, we already said we don't store cardholder data. So these are going to be the same as before. In other words, it should still be copied. So you can just paste it. If not, you can start it over. But again, there's no media to store data on. We don't have any offline backups of the data. Now, I'm going to, for purposes of this one, we were filling it out as an in-person only SAQ. If you are, again, if you are taking it by mail or by phone and you get card holder data sent to you or you write it down on a piece of paper, this is the question about, are you destroying it properly? Are you shredding it? And so if that's your case, you would put in place, for purposes of this SAQ, we're going to say no cardholder data is stored. Okay, now for 9.5 and on, this is the question about, are we inspecting our card readers regularly? And I know we visited you, and I know most of you are. So these are in place. Do we have an update list of our devices? Yes, so that's in place. Are we periodically inspecting the devices for unauthorized substitution or changing? Yes. And do we provide training? Yes. Requirement 12 is concerning the information security policy. Fortunately, the state of Delaware, it takes, as part of a larger organization, we have these maintained either by the state or by the Office of the Treasurer. So all the answers in 12 are in place. And again, if you want to discuss any of these, feel free to get in touch with us. We'll be happy to talk to you about any of these. The TPSP is third-party service provider. That's basically our vendors. And so, yes, the state has a process for engaging vendors and keeping up with what they do and making sure they're certified. 12.10 is a question about the incident response plan. That's both in your, it's a collection of things, but it starts with the state has an incident response plan to deal with all cybersecurity incidents, plus the Department of Treasury has one to help lead if it's a PCI related one, and then your merchant documentation has in it how to engage that plan. So it's in place and safe. Now that's actually all the requirements. Now we're into the thing. So Appendix B, we're going to leave this blank. This is a compensating control worksheet. And we're not using compensating controls. That's if you were to meet one of those requirements some way other than the way they want you to, but we're not doing that. So leave it blank and click Save. Now you remember when we filled out the reasons for non-applicable and we told you to keep them the same. So if you click the red button that says Populate Appendix, you'll see that it copies down our answers from above. Had we not made them all exactly the same, no cardholder data is ever stored, these would be each listed individually and different. So that's why we want them to be the same. So you just click the red button and then click Save Next. Now, if we did everything right, well, the box that says compliant will be automatically checked. If it's not checked, it probably means we accidentally left an answer blank above. But we could go back and fix it. If you need any help, please give us a call. Otherwise, we want the box checked for compliant. Leave the rest of this blank. This was if we are not compliant, they would like us to provide a date for when we will be compliant. Part 3A is the acknowledgement that, to the best of our knowledge, we've answered all the questions correctly. Click all these boxes and then next. And so in the merchant attestation field, this is where we want the departmental person who is going to sign the SAQ. So usually this is the and Pia, this might be where you can jump in terms of who would we want to have as represent the department as the executive officer.
Yes, thank you, Brent. So, Fia Quesa, Director of Operations and Funds Management from the Office of the State Treasurer. In this field for Part 3B, you should add in the executive from your agency or school. So this could possibly be your cabinet secretary, your deputy secretary. This will be the person, sometimes it's the same person who's filling out the SAQ. Oftentimes in school districts or agencies, it could be another level up of a member of senior management. So we do ask for you to add that person there. As I said before, a deputy, school business administrator, cabinet secretary who will be certifying your responses to the SAQ.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So when you're done with that, then you can type that person in. It's probably a good idea to let that person know if you're not that person, let them know you've signed them up. On Part 3C, this should be pre-filled out with my name. So just leave it as is and click next. And Part 3D, we're going to leave this blank, but this, again, reference to prior. If an internal security assessor was involved, this is where we would name them, but that wasn't, so leave it blank. On Part 4, we're going to leave that blank. This is had we attested not compliant, this is where we explain how we're going to get compliant and by when. But leave it blank and just click Save. And we're done. So at this point, we can finalize and lock it if we're absolutely sure that it's ready. We can also just go back to the merchant dashboard. If you finalize and lock it, it doesn't actually submit anything. It just in the portal marks it as final and locked, so that when Treasury looks at it, they'll know you're completely done with it. So if we do that, it also will generate a PDF version of this filled out, and it'll show up in the document locker.
And Brent, this is Fia again, just to add. So for state agencies and schools, you have an option if you want your executive to either sign the document, the PDF that Brent just mentioned, or we can add your executive to the portal for them to be able to lock the document for you. So there's options there for finalizing of your SAQ within the portal.
Yep. If you will note, the SAQ that we just filled out has now appeared in the document locker as a PDF, which could be printed and signed, as Fia mentioned. But you'll note it's now the official PDF format from the council, and you'll note that, for example, this is where we filled in the information about Clover. If you look at the dashboard, you'll notice this was all purple. It's now either in place or not applicable, as we answered. And we're done. PDF SAQ complete. So now, Fia, if you want to talk about we do have a merchant checklist that we were going to go through. If I'll turn that over to Fia.
Thank you so much, Brent. So, as Brent said, the Office of the State Treasurer has put together resources for our state agencies and schools in order to assist you and completing the other items that are required to be uploaded to the document locker. I will share my screen now with the website that has been created. So if you can see my screen, and I also have added the website in the chat, this is a resource page that is on the State Treasurer's website. This website will allow our state agencies and schools to have access to the merchant survey and a lot of other items that are here. I do want to draw your attention to the annual merchant services checklist. I've already opened up the checklist for ease of use. This checklist was created in partnership with Campus Guard to assist our agencies with the following items that are listed on your screen. What's important is that as you complete your SAQ, you will then turn to the annual checklist and begin to complete these items. These items will be uploaded to the document locker within the Campus Guard portal. Of course, the PCI Merchant Services team within the Office of the State Treasurer, along with Campus Guard, will be able to assist you and answer any questions as you're going through the checklist. What's most important also in closing comments is that number 9 here is, once all documents mentioned above are completed and uploaded to the Campus Guard portal, you can then lock your SAQ, and then you will complete your process of attesting for the year. Thank you so much for your time and attention today, and we do look forward to hearing your questions in regards to the training that we've provided.